Have you ever felt so wrong that you wanted a way to strike back without being seen? As if the cleanest revenge is the one that leaves your hands looking innocent. And have you ever noticed that the moment you start hunting for secret revenge tricks, your mind becomes darker even before anything happens? Welcome back to the channel. Today we need to talk about a theme that shows up everywhere online in different costumes. The promise of a simple hidden ritual that will destroy your enemies without confrontation. I am going to be very clear right away. I cannot help with instructions for harming someone, including so-called revenge rituals or anything that uses bodily fluids or unsafe practices. But I can absolutely help with something more useful. A deep Buddhist-style story and teaching about what actually happens when you try to weaponize spirituality. Why these shortcuts backfire, and how to protect yourself and rise above enemies without turning your own heart into a battlefield. Because this is the real question beneath every revenge act. Do you want them to suffer? Or do you want your own suffering to end? Most people think those are the same. They are not. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Soren who lived in a city where people smiled politely and stabbed quietly. He worked in a place where reputation mattered more than truth. Promotions were decided by whispers, not by merit. Credit was stolen with charm. Blame was handed out like candy to whoever looked weakest. Soren was not perfect, but he was sincere. He did his work carefully. He tried to be fair. He did not enjoy gossip. He thought if he kept his head down and delivered results, life would reward him. Then he met Ivar. Ivar was the kind of person who never looked nervous. He shook hands like he owned the room. He praised people loudly in public and undermined them softly in private. He collected secrets the way some people collect souvenirs. He always seemed to be standing in the right place at the right time. At first, Soren tried to befriend him. That is what many good people do when they sense danger. They think kindness will neutralize it. They think if they cooperate, they will be safe. But some minds treat kindness as permission. Ivar began borrowing Soren ideas, then presenting them as his own. Ivar began repeating Soren private comments in meetings, twisting them into something that sounded disloyal. Ivar began planting doubt about Soren's competence, not with one big accusation, but with 1,000 small suggestions. Soren felt confused. He kept thinking, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it is not intentional. Maybe he is just ambitious. Then one day, Soren discovered the full betrayal. A project Soren had built for months was presented by Ivar to leadership with Ivar's name on it. In the room, Ivar smiled as if the success had been born from his own genius. People applauded. The manager praised Ivar, and Soren sat there feeling his stomach turn cold, because he realized something that changed the taste of his whole career. He had been naive. After the meeting, Soren confronted Ivar privately. He did not scream. He did not threaten. He simply asked, "Why did you do that?" Ivar gave him a small smile, almost pitying, and said, "Because you let me." That sentence stabbed deeper than the theft itself, because it carried a philosophy. If you are gentle, you deserve to be exploited. Soren went home that night and could not sleep. He kept replaying the meeting. He kept imagining what he should have said. He kept planning a speech that would expose Ivar. He kept rehearsing revenge like it was medicine. And then he did what many people do in the age of algorithm. He searched for answers online. He did not search for wisdom. He searched for power. He found videos and posts promising secret methods to destroy enemies without confrontation. They used spiritual language, mystical language, religious language. They promised that if you do a certain hidden ritual, the enemy will fall, lose money, get sick, be humiliated, be removed. Soren felt a rush, not joy. A rush. The rush of finally having a fantasy where he was not helpless. That is the hook. Revenge content does not only sell a method, it sells relief from helplessness. Soren watched more. He read more. He began imagining himself as someone who could secretly strike back. He did not have to confront Iver directly. He could let invisible forces do it. And the more he consumed, the more his mind changed. He became suspicious of everyone. He started looking for signs that people were against him. He started seeing co-workers as threats instead of humans. He started keeping score of every slight. He started fantasizing about others' suffering. He started feeling a dark satisfaction when someone else made a mistake, because it made him feel less alone. This is a karmic truth that shows up early when you pay attention. Before revenge touches your enemy, it touches your mind. A mind that rehearses harm becomes skilled at harm. Even if you never act, you are training your inner world. Soren did not notice this at first because the fantasies felt like relief. He felt powerful imagining Iver downfall. But then he noticed his body changing too. His sleep got worse. His jaw stayed clenched. His stomach felt tight. His heart raced at small things. He became impatient with friends. He snapped at family. He was becoming the kind of person he used to dislike. That frightened him. One evening, Soren visited his grandmother. She lived simply in a quiet apartment with old books and teacups that looked like they had survived many storms. His grandmother was not a celebrity teacher. She was just the kind of elder who had endured enough to stop being fooled by dramatic promises. Soren sat at her table and told her everything. The betrayal, the humiliation, the online revenge methods. His grandmother listened without interrupting, then asked one question that made Soren's throat tighten. She said, "When you imagine destroying him, does your heart feel lighter afterward, or heavier?" Soren tried to answer quickly. He wanted to say lighter, but if he was honest, he knew it was heavier. The fantasies gave him a short rush, then left him more tense. He whispered, "Heavier." His grandmother nodded, as if that was the only answer that mattered. She said, "Then that path is already destroying someone." Soren frowned. "Who?" She tapped his chest lightly. "You." Soren felt anger rise again, because he wanted revenge to be justified. He wanted permission to be cruel. "So I should do nothing, just accept being cheated?" His grandmother shook her head. "No, wisdom is not weakness, but revenge is not justice. Revenge is usually pain trying to feel strong." She poured tea slowly and said, "Let me tell you what Buddhist teaching means in practical life. Karma is not only what happens later in some invisible world. Karma is what your mind becomes through repeated intention. If you feed hatred, hatred grows. If you feed clarity, clarity grows. If you feed skill, skill grows." Soren said, "But he will keep winning." His grandmother said, "People who cheat often win early, because they are willing to trade their integrity for speed. But that trade always has a cost. You just cannot see the bill immediately. Meanwhile, your job is not to become his mirror. Your job is to protect your life without staining your heart." Then she gave him a story within a story. The kind elders use when direct advice would be rejected. She said, "There was once a traveler bitten by a snake. The traveler became obsessed with finding the snake to bite it back. He spent days hunting it. Meanwhile, the venom spread. Someone asked him why he was hunting the snake instead of seeking medicine. The traveler said, "Because I want the snake to suffer." The person replied, "If you die, will the snake care?" Soren stared at his tea. His grandmother continued, "When someone harms you, they plant their karma. You do not need to plant the same karma to prove they are wrong. You need medicine. And medicine includes boundaries, evidence, wise action, and inner discipline." Soren asked, "So what do I do about Iver?" His grandmother said, "First, stop feeding your mind poison. Stop consuming content that trains you to fantasize harm. Second, build your case in reality. Gather facts. Document your work. Speak to the right people calmly. Third, strengthen yourself. Learn skills. Build allies. Protect your reputation through consistency. Fourth, practice compassion. Not for him, For you, compassion means you will not become a monster to fight a monster. Soren felt a strange mix of disappointment and relief. Disappointment because she did not offer a shortcut. Relief because her path sounded like something that would not destroy him. But he still struggled. The next day at work, Ivar walked by and smiled, as if daring Soren to do something. Soren felt his blood heat up. He wanted to expose him right there. He wanted to shout. He wanted to embarrass him in front of everyone. Instead, he remembered his grandmother's question, lighter or heavier. He chose a third way. He did not smile back. He did not glare. He simply looked past Ivar as if he was looking at weather. Then he sat at his desk and began building a folder of evidence. Emails, drafts, version history, meeting notes, anything that showed the work belonged to him. This was not revenge. This was reality. Over the next weeks, Soren also changed how he moved at work. He began speaking up earlier in meetings. Not aggressively, clearly. He began sending summary emails after discussions, so contributions were recorded. He began collaborating with trustworthy co-workers in ways that created witnesses. He began learning the politics of the environment without becoming dirty, and he practiced a simple discipline each morning. Before checking messages, he sat for a few minutes and watched his breath. When anger thoughts appeared, he noticed them and returned to breath. He did not pretend he was above anger. He simply refused to let anger drive the car. That small practice did something huge. It gave him a gap between impulse and action. In that gap, he could choose wisdom. Then something unexpected happened. A new project arrived, and leadership assigned Ivar to lead it. Ivar, confident as always, promised results fast. He took shortcuts. He exaggerated progress. He borrowed work from others and claimed it as his own. But this time, Soren was ready. He did not sabotage. He did not spread rumors. He did not play secret game. He simply kept records. He continued producing quality work. And when Ivar tried to take credit again, Soren calmly forwarded the documented timeline to the manager with one sentence. For clarity on contributions and ownership, here is the record. The manager did not explode. The manager did not apologize dramatically. But the manager did something more powerful. The manager began watching Ivar more closely. Ivar sensed the shift and grew more aggressive. He started making little comments about Soren's attitude. He started implying Soren was jealous. He tried to turn others against him. But Soren had also built allies by being steady. People had seen the pattern. They had their own stories. When Soren finally spoke with calm evidence, others quietly supported him. This is another karmic law. Truth moves slowly, but when it gathers witnesses, it becomes heavy. Within a few months, Ivar made a mistake that could not be hidden. He promised a result he could not deliver. The project failed publicly. Leadership questioned him. His explanations sounded like excuses. His charm began to look like manipulation. He did not fall because someone did a secret ritual. He fell because his habits caught up with him. And Soren, who had been tempted to poison himself with revenge fantasies, watched the fall with an emotion that surprised him. He did not feel triumph. He felt sadness. Not sadness for Ivar comfort, but sadness for how predictable it all was. A mind that uses others eventually creates a world where nobody trusts it. A mind that lies eventually lives inside paranoia. A mind that steals eventually fears being exposed. Bad is punishment enough. After the fallout, Ivar cornered Soren in a hallway and hissed, "You did this to me." Soren looked at him calmly and said, "No. You did this to you. I just stopped protecting your mask." Ivar stared, speechless. Soren walked away and realized something. He had won without becoming ugly. That is the real victory Buddhism points to. Not crushing the enemy, but refusing to become the enemy. Now let me step back from the story and say the lesson out loud in a way that can actually protect you. When you search for secret methods to destroy enemies, you are training your mind in hatred. Even if you never act, You are planting causes inside yourself. Those causes create consequences. Paranoia, restlessness, sleep problems, sharp speech, impulsive choices, broken relationships, and a life that feels like constant war. That is why these revenge promises are so dangerous. Not only because they can encourage harm, but because they turn your mind into a prison. Buddhist teaching offers a different path that still respects self-protection. It says, do not confuse compassion with weakness. Set boundaries. Use wisdom. Use reality. Use right speech. Use right action. Protect yourself without feeding hatred. And it says something even deeper. Your enemy is also your teacher, because they reveal where you still cling to pride, validation, and revenge. That does not mean you thank them. It means you learn the lesson so you stop repeating the same suffering. So what is the clean way to deal with enemies without confrontation? It is not secret harm. It is skill. It is evidence. It is calm strategy. It is strengthening your life so that a person's attacks do not control your nervous system. It is refusing to gossip while refusing to be naive. It is building a reputation so steady that lies cannot stick. It is learning to be quiet when silence protects you and to speak when truth protects you. And it is practicing inner discipline, so you do not carry their poison inside your chest. I have seen this in real-life patterns again and again. The person who obsesses over revenge often loses years of peace. The person who focuses on building strength often outgrows the enemy entirely. Sometimes the enemy disappears because they get bored. Sometimes they fall because their own habits collapse. Sometimes they remain, but their power shrinks because you stop reacting. Reaction is the fuel enemies feed on. No fuel, no fire. Now I want to share a small reflection that many people relate to. Because it is easy to talk about wisdom when you are calm. It is harder when you are hurt. There are days when you want justice so badly that compassion sounds insulting. There are days when you feel tired of being the bigger person. There are days when you want the universe to punish someone quickly. On those days, remember this: you are not being asked to love abuse. You are being asked not to let abuse rewrite your character. You can be firm. You can protect yourself. You can walk away. You can report wrongdoing. You can stop cooperating with people who harm you. You can speak truth. You can hold boundaries like stone. But you can do it without cultivating a mind that enjoys harm. That is the difference between justice and revenge. Justice aims to reduce harm. Revenge aims to transfer pain. Karma will teach both. And here is the final twist. When you stop seeking secret revenge and start building real strength, you often receive something better than the enemy downfall. You receive your own peace back. Soren eventually told his grandmother, "I still hate what he did, but I do not feel owned by it anymore." His grandmother nodded and said, "That is liberation. Not the absence of enemies, but the absence of inner slavery." Thank you for spending this time with me. I want you to share in the comments. Have you ever been tempted by the idea of secret revenge? And what did it do to your mind when you held that temptation? And what would it look like to protect yourself with wisdom instead of poison? Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay connected. Your support keeps these long stories alive, and your story might help someone else choose a cleaner path. Until next time, keep your heart compassionate, keep your boundaries strong, and remember, the highest victory is not destroying an enemy. The highest victory is refusing to let an enemy destroy your peace.